Bonjour. Hello, hello, hello. How are we all doing today? I have some pretty fun news for you all. I have some pretty fun news before we get started with the proper ASMR. Okay? I wanna show you a couple things. It's bit by bit, step by step, a rather slow process. But things are happening. Also, hello, welcome in, Proper Nobody. Happy to have you here for your first stream. So, first off, take a look at this. Take a look at that. What's that? What's that? Is that Nightbot? Is that Nightbot that has been added to the Twitch stream? Indeed, indeed it is. Indeed it is. Now you'll note there is no exclamation point Discord command because the server is not yet fully done. But we have Nightbot. Nightbot is present. And when I have finished setting up the Discord, server, to get a link to the server, you would do exclamation point Discord into Nightbot, and it will give you a link. So, as you could, I'm doing it. I'm working on it. I'm making progress, okay? Now, here's the other thing. Here's the other thing that I want to show you all. I've reached out to a friend who is going to be helping test things before I open the server publicly. But if I do a little something like this, I just add in a display capture. Actually, I think I should be able to just do this. Yes, yes, I can. Give me just a moment to, oh, not that. I want to shrink me. Move me off to the side real quick. You really love my voice? Well, thank you. I worked very hard on it. So, as you can see, the Discord server is progressing. I have a little test space where I'm trying things out. So, you know, we have Carlbot. We have Pluralkit. Both of those are functioning now. We have a few emotes. We have a few emotes here, as you can see. So you can go ahead and throw those out. I have a rules section here, okay? And it's a whole thing where you can't access the rest of the server until you read the rules and then done the fate you react on this. It gives you a role, and that role gives you access to the server, you see. I have a pronoun role right here. And I have a ping role that's just like, please ping me when the Fae goes live. Introductions channel. It's all coming together. It's all coming together. A lot of the stuff I've been doing is just like directly ripping from my partner's Discord server because they have one. That's all set up. Do the roles show up in other servers? No, they do not. Roles are a per server thing. I mean, I can change the title of the Discord server at any point. This is just on a temporary basis, but I'm trying to be transparent. and to show you like the progress and the work that's being done on making this happen. Because, you know, y'all achieved the donation goals for the Discord to happen. And so I'm trying to make it happen. It's just difficult and stressful and a lot. And every time I think about all of the things I still have to do, I start to panic a little bit. But we're getting there. Okay? I'll have a little sip of my water. Yeah, you know, I can just straight up. What if I were to Fey Orb right now? Bam. I have a bunch of my emotes on Discord now. It's amazing. Yes, yes, strike me with your Fey Orbs. So that's where we're at. I just wanted to keep you all posted on how it's all going on the Discord front. I dare say it's going quite well. Now, as is often the case at the start of a Flawless Fae ASMR stream, I have something I'd like to yap about before we open up the polls. So, while I do that yapping, would you rather would you rather I play with my crank-powered egg beater, screw around with a sponge, or play with some rubber gloves? What would you all like? First message gets it. Egg beater? Egg beater. Alright. I'm gonna crank my gizmo live on stream. I'm cranking my gizmo. Oh, I've just realized I have not adjusted. I have a different mic filter setting depending on whether I am doing ASMR or doing a video game stream. I have to remember to change that. There we go. It's an antique. I bought this at an antique store. And so occasionally the gear kind of catches a little bit. And I have to like go back a little and then push it forward again. But here's the recent lore, okay? About a month-ish ago, okay? I was on a walk. I go for walks. I mean, who doesn't go for walks every now and then, right? If you don't go for walks, you should try going for walks. It's nice to get out of the house and just go. Sometimes I listen to music, sometimes I daydream. Most of the time I daydream. It's how I come up with a lot of my story ideas for audios and for my writing, is daydreaming about whatever strikes my fancy at the time. Yeah, the air quality, by the way, it's now rated as poor. So, we're improving. But towards the start of this year, my apartment complex, there's this like ravine near the buildings that has a bunch of trees and a sort of river that's running out of what looks to be like a storm drain. And they decided they were gonna put a walking trail down there And so I go on walks there every now and then just to get out of the house and to move around and to be doing things, you know? And I keep spying wildlife while I'm out there. I keep running into deer. I had one walk where I saw a group of 9 deer all together. It was amazing. I was like, this is a tiny patch of woods. What are you all doing here? I see a lot of raccoons. I see a lot of stuff, right? But about a month ago, I went on a walk there. And what did I see? But a pair of kittens. And I mean kittens. A pair of little baby kitties. And I did not see a mom at the time. And I see them both. They're very small. And they see me and they run. And they go across the water. Across the river thing. And end up hiding amidst the roots of a tree. And I couldn't follow them. I couldn't figure it out. It was getting late and dark. And so I ended up going home. I talked to my partner after that happened. And I was like, this city has a huge stray cat problem. A very large population of strays. And so I can't bother with every stray that I see. There's too many of them. If I was concerned over every single stray that I saw, I would be trying to bring a cat home every time I left the apartment, basically. But these two, they were so little. They were so little. And I was talking to Lynn, and I was thinking, like, I don't like the idea of kittens this small being out alone in this city. I don't like that. I want to try and get them rehomed. And so I make a point now to keep an eye open for the cats every time I go for a walk. And the next time I went for a walk after that first time I saw them, I actually did walk along the water for a little while, and I found a place where I could get across it with 3 jumps, essentially, onto these little sandbar sections of it. So I jumped and picked my way across, and I went to the tree where I saw them hiding before, and I couldn't find them. And so I ended up I resolved myself to keep my eyes open going forwards. And about a month went by, a little longer than that, I think, right? And I, at that point, had given up on seeing them again. I thought to myself, either they've left the area, or someone else has picked them up, or something's happened. But when I did first see them, my partner Lynn and I, we made an agreement where if I ever saw them again on another walk, I would call their phone immediately, and they would hurry over with cat food, and we would try and make something happen. And now we come to yesterday, and I arrive at the very start of the trail. I haven't even properly gone into the woods yet. And wouldn't you know it, there are those kittens. That's the same pair of kittens I can see them, they're right there. And so I freeze on the spot. And I take out my phone. And I call my beloved partner. And I say, babe, it's the kittens. And they say, seriously? I say, yeah, I'm looking at them right now. I'm at the start of the trail. I'm looking at them right now. And the last thing I hear is my partner telling the people that they were in a Discord call and that they'll be back later. And then they hang up. And I end up standing there for a little while, just kind of watching the kittens from a distance. They're very nervous. They're hiding in the grass. Anytime there's a big enough noise, they poke their little heads up. Well, one of them seemed to be more in charge than the other. When there was a noise of someone closing a car door in the parking lot near there, or when a dog would bark, this one kitten would hop up onto this log and take a look around. Search the area, make sure it's safe. I remember there was one point where it was inspecting for a little bit longer. And the other kitten started trying to climb the log to be with it and to take a look with it. And the one that was the leader, the one that was watching things, just like saw the other kitten trying to climb up and just like batted it, just like, no, get down, stay down. Eventually Lynn arrives, carrying 2 cans of cat food. And the 2 of us start to make our way towards them. And they're watching us the whole time. They're really, really nervous about us. We crack open a can of cat food. We empty some of it on top of a log nearby. And back off, but neither of them is confident enough to approach the food. So what my partner and I end up doing is we leave the food there and we go for a lap around the trail. We go for a little walk so that they can have some space alone with the food. And as we're walking back, do you know what I see? On the trail ahead of me, as we're on the loop back? Third cat. Third cat. Grown-up cat. And I wondered the same thing. I was like, is that their mom? Do they have a mom? I would feel much better if they did. And it's making a beeline to the food. And we arrive at where we left the food, and we see the 2 kittens are eating it. The 2 kittens are eating the food. And grown-up cat is now sitting probably about 10 feet away watching them. And then when we were talking, we're like, is that their parent? Is that mom? And I'm really not sure. I don't know. There was a point where one of the kittens actually did approach us a little bit. Got much closer than either of them had ever been to us before. And then scared itself off. There was another time when one of the kittens decided to approach the big adult grown-up cat. And the kitten walks up, and it's kind of hard to see because they're in the bushes. But I hear what sounds like the grown-up cat swatting and hissing. and then baby cat crying. And so that's why I'm not sure. I'm not sure if that's a parent cat. In the end, we did see an additional grown-up cat arrive on the scene. So it was 4 cats total. I'm just not sure, right? We did not end up successfully catching any kittens. But we spent probably around 40 minutes hanging out with the cats while they ate the food and trying to get them a little bit more used to us. And to hopefully get them to associate us with safety and with food. I've seen them twice now, in the same area. So I think there's a strong possibility that they'll keep showing up there in the future. And so what Lynn and I have agreed is that from here on, I'm always gonna, when I go for a walk, I'm gonna have cat food on me. Right? And if I see them again, I'll call in and they'll come with a cat carrier. And we'll try the age-old method of putting food in a cat carrier. And see if they'll head on in there. Oh, I'll keep you posted if I see them again, absolutely. And as for your question, cheesiest boy, unfortunately we can't adopt them. Not properly. The fact is, our apartment only allows a maximum of 2 pets. And we already have one. And it charges pet rent for each pet that you have. So if we are able to successfully catch them, our plan is to hold on to them for a night or 2. While we reach out to friends and family and anyone who lives nearby to see if they're interested in taking in a pair of kittens. And failing that, taking them to a vet, taking them to a shelter. That's the plan. I just want those little tiny babies off the street. I would like them to be safe. I would like them to be in a safer situation than what they're currently in. Does that mean Rav works? Yeah, he works at the biscuit factory. And he's also a licensed nurse, so he works pretty hard. Yeah, he works a couple jobs. He does also rent out his limbs on occasion. Ravioli has a lot of lore. You don't know this, but Rav has a lot of lore. He works at the biscuit factory. He's studying at wizard school right now. He is a nurse. And, yeah, he when he loafs in a certain position where you can't tell he has limbs at all, we say that's him renting out his legs. He is a homophobic trans man, that is also true. He's a busy man. He's a very, very busy young man, that Rav. So there you have it. There's the Fae story of the day. It's my stray cat story. A Rav smooch, as requested by the good girl. I'll go grab the boy in just a moment then. My partner went out and grabbed cold brew before I even woke up this morning. I like half woke up when they did. And I remember them like standing next to the bed and getting ready for their day, and then they were like, I want to go get some laundry money, and grab some coffee while I'm out. Do you want some? And I said yes, and then promptly passed out again. Cold brew, it's a specific type of making, it's a specific way to make coffee, yes. Anyways, Rav the boy is actually in the room with me right now. I didn't notice him. Rav? Rav? The people would really like it if I could smoochie for them. Is that okay? Are you okay with this plan? Yeah? Okay. Okay. There we are. Smooches for the sun boy. There we are. Hello, welcome into your first face stream. Happy to have you here. We do live ASMR and a bunch of random yapping around here. We're talking about parthenogenesis? Oh, hell yeah. I love parthenogenesis. It's fascinating stuff. Okay, so I think we're right about at the time when I can go ahead and open up the poll. Let me know what ideas you have, what you'd like to hear today. And then we'll go ahead and place our votes. Let's see. Stray Neko? The one and only Neko Mimi. Sounds good to me. I've been playing so much Digimon lately. I've been playing so much Digimon lately. I think I'm a Digimon fan now. I think I'm officially a Digimon gamer. Time Stranger is let's see. White Wolf, would you be the dragon or the spirit in that context? That is correct. So I'm going to clarify that word is a slur towards intersex people. And it is, yes it is. And while it is used in the scientific community to describe a certain type of animal, so the thing is that it's used as a slur against intersex people, and is also used in the scientific community to refer to a specific type of animal. And it's not great. It would actually be ideal if a different term could be used, but that's a big ask. But yes. It is... yeah. Dragon listener for that? Okay. Okay. So I can be a haunted locket or something. Yeah, I believe, again, I am not intersex myself. I only have the words of intersex people that I've spoken to go off of. But I believe even the origins of that word in its scientific use are still not great. So yes, that would be why Twitch filters that word. Digimon ASMR where we are the Digimon. Okay, but it's going to be a Digimon audio where I'm trying to force fem you, because that's what I'm doing with my whole Digimon team in the real-time Stranger playthrough. It's... okay, the thing that really gets me about Digimon, right, is that how do you force fem your entire team? With careful planning. So the way Digimon works is that basically anything can become anything. You can digivolve into several branches from any given Digimon, and then you can also de-evolve backwards to one of the potential Digimon that can turn into its current form, and by using that there's like a whole extensive web you can navigate through. And so we have situations where like I'm just gonna real quick, okay? I'm gonna show you something. And this is probably how we're gonna honestly do the Digimon Force Fem audio if we do it, right? Is that observe. Okay? I want you to take a look at this. This is one of the plans that I have for my Digimon, right? It's careful planning. It's very careful planning that has made this happen. But if you take a look right here, I started my playthrough. My starter Digimon in Digimon Time Stranger was Gomamon, okay? This is my starter. From Gomamon, you can digivolve in several different directions, okay? Digimon digivolves from Bukamon and then can become Mojiamon, Ikakumon, Frigimon, Hyogamon, or Ice Devimon. Frigimon is one potential Force Fem path. I have a different Frigimon that will eventually be Force Femmed, but I chose to make my Gomamon into Ice Devimon, okay? So I turned that little seal into this man here. I turned that little seal into this man that you see right here. And now, for whatever reason, normal Devimon can't do this. But when you get to Ice Devimon, what can you do? You can turn Ice Devimon into either Crescimon, who can become Dianamon, or turn Ice Devimon into Lady Devimon, who can eventually then become Lilithmon, Beelstarmon, or Mastamon. Okay? So as you can see, I turned... This is going to eventually become Lilithmon. That's the plan. But I turned this little seal... I turned this seal into a man, and now I'm going to turn that man into a woman, and then turn that woman into Lilith. This is how you force fem your Digimon. And so what I have done is every single Digimon that I have named in advance what I'm planning on turning them into so I don't forget the plan, and so I have everything set up. I don't think Time Stranger has Sistermon. I have not seen that. But my plan is to have a Dianamon, I'm going to have a Lilithmon, I'm going to have a Junomon, a Lotusmon. I have a whole plan. So anyways, if people end up voting for the Digimon audio, it's going to be your tamer tries to figure out how to turn you into a woman. Oh, Angel Woman is one of my plans. It's just she's not the final form of that plan. Angel Woman is a stopping point to an eventual final evolution. because, you know, we can go past Angel Woman. Hell, I'm planning on having a Mastamon, which is the ultimate form of Angel Digimon. Observe her. Why does that one part of the evolution have long-ass arms but the others don't? Because Ice Devimon's just like that. I mean, Lady Devimon also has a long arm there. Exactly. Estrogen to become Lady Devimon, progesterone to become Lilith. That's how it works. It's very simple. So, we do still have a few slots left on the poll. We in fact have 2 slots left on the poll. So, go ahead and share any ideas that you still have lying around. Yeah, no, Digimon, way more complicated on the evolution front. Another one of my big plans is to eventually get a Witchmon, because Witchmon is one of the rideable Digimon. You get to sit behind her on her broom, which is very cute. Let's see. Okay. Clockwork Doll listener. I like that. I like that. Let's see. More of the sentient Blaha. See, the issue with sentient Blaha is I couldn't figure out how to go further with that. It's just patting plushies around a mic. Yes, Automod, we can allow the phrase rabid lesbians. That's exactly what I am. I am a rabid lesbian. Alright, my lovelies, we have 1 slot left on the poll. Please do tell secret final option. Faye info dumps to us about one of her interests. I can make that a poll option if you want. I have many info dumps just kind of on lock. There we go. Final option is let me ramble. And I'll come up with one of a couple things that I could give you a quick presentation about when I do random ASMR triggers. Okay? Because I always have an info dump on lock. I always have a rant on lock. I don't know if I'd be in the mood to talk about Rain World. I love Rain World. Y'all ever played Rain World? Well, pretty early on when my partner and I were first dating. That was when I was super obsessed with Rain World. And there are times when I don't know why, like, there are times when I'm like, wow, how did I not scare you away? I was like, we went to a coffee shop once, pretty early on when we were dating each other. A wonderful coffee shop owned by a pair of lesbians who were also artists. And so they would hang their own art on the walls, as well as the art of a few others who wanted to cooperate with them. And so you would go to this coffee shop and you would order some coffee and you could buy any of the paintings that were on the walls. It was super cute. And so I invited Lynn to this coffee shop. And we were hanging out, eating some delicious baked goods, drinking some coffee. And do you know what I spent that entire hour doing? They came all the way out there to hang out at this coffee shop with me, and I spent that entire hour talking about Rain World. They did not speak a lot throughout that whole date. I just talked about slug cats. and somehow I managed to pull a non-binary baddie by being autistic enough, apparently. I love them so much. They're so awesome. They're so amazing. It genuinely means so much that they enjoy and support me rambling about nonsense to them. It's so important to me. It really is. Spent entire hours yapping about Bionicle. Yeah, oh my God, one of my friends, her name is Sam. She has an entire presentation about the lore of Bionicle. And she will just periodically, like, if people seem even, like, slightly interested, she'll just be like, I can schedule a day, drag you all into a Discord call, and give my Bionicle lore presentation to you all. She's fucking awesome. I love being a autistic trans girl surrounded by other autistic trans girls. It's so important. It's so very important. I don't know if I've ever gone out of my way to make like a proper presentation. I usually just kind of stream of consciousness ramble it out. Anyways, if you haven't played Rain World, you absolutely should. It's such a cool game. It's so cool. They worked really hard on like procedural animations and on making the world feel alive and lived in. It's very hostile to the player, but not like exclusively hostile to the player, if that makes sense. It's a world that just exists and just happens to be hard for the player to exist in. I just think it's neat. I just think it's neat. And I'm going to start another Rain World obsession again now, aren't I? I'm gonna start looking at those slug cats again. Me when I am a scug. Me when I am an adorable little scug. Clockwork listener. Clockwork listener. Okay. Okay, give me just 1 second to get things set up then. Give me but a moment. Why is Scug the abbreviation of Slugcat? Well, because it's slug, but you replace the L in slug with the C from cat. So it becomes Scug. Would you prefer slat? Or just cug? I think Scug works. I think Scug. No, we're not calling them that, Squishy Siren. We're not calling them that. Let's see. Pixabay, authentic only, horizontal orientation. This is the one. This is the one. Scat is a word that has several meanings, which is quite something. Cause you know, we have like scat as in the specific type of music, of singing. Y'all ever heard of the Scat Man? He goes, I'm the Scat Man. Skibbity dum 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 dum. I can't. No. Scatman would be disappointed if I said I can't scat. Anyone can scat. Anyone can do it. If you believe in yourself, if you have whimsy in your heart and a dream, you can scat. I can't exactly. If Scatman can do it, so can you. He says it in the song. He says it in the song. See, the problem. The problem is that it also happens to mean uh uh yeah. It happens to mean number 2. And so I don't think we should call the slug cats scat. Oh, you're perfectly fine, Squishy Siren. It's just silly. Isn't it specifically animal poop? Yes. And I'm realizing now there's also a third meaning of the word, which is related to the second meaning. And I shall cast no disparagement on people for the things they're into, but I most assuredly am not. and that was admittedly the first thing that came to mind when I thought about that word for a slug cat. I don't want to think about that every time I think about a slug cat. Yeah. So there you have it. We're calling them Scugs, and that's final. Case closed, decision resolved. If I had a gavel and it wouldn't be too loud, I would hit my gavel. I'll just a little... Oh, well, that's still too loud. There we go. Case closed. What is my favorite Scug? Rivulet. Rivulet is the supreme. That's my silly bud. That's my silly best friend. Okay. So. We're definitely going to be doing some gizmo cranking for this audio. I have to crank the gizmo for this one. And then I'm thinking, okay. Because obviously the listener in this is a little clockwork automaton, and I'm thinking it's going to be made of metal and wood, you know? And so I have a little file. No, I'm cranking my gizmo. This is safe for work. It's just my little mechanical gizmo that happens to be crank operated. So I have this file and some wood. I think that'd be a good sound for this audio concept. Listen, there has to be a line or Twitch will kill me. Do you want Twitch to straight up murder me? Because they will. They'll do it. Yeah, that works. That works. We've got some good sounds there. And then I need this little guy. And maybe this. Yeah, okay. Okay. We have some good ASMR triggers for this concept. I want all streamers to be out of work. What? Uh, Crank Gizmos on Patreon. I do. That is true. I crank my gizmo in the less safe for work way elsewhere. I'm not allowed to promote it on Twitch. But you can go elsewhere. You're allowed to. Face stomp, they're gonna get you. Hey, it's okay. I'm allowed to talk about the fact that I do it. I'm just not allowed to say to go to Twitch, go to patreon.com/flawlessvaudio for the NSFW stuff. I'm not allowed to say that, so I won't say it. Hee hee. Yeah, you know, I got it on lock. I'm smooth with it. All right. All right. Congratulations. You're my little clockwork robot now. I have to I have to I have to focus up. I have to lock in. Okay? I have to enter character. Should I be British for this, do you think? I feel like if I'm making a little clockwork automaton, I should be kind of steampunk with it, kind of British with it. Be French? Be French. Can I do French? Have I ever done a French accent? Hello, hello. How are you today? I hope that you are all doing well on this fine day. My French accent is less polished than my British, but I do not believe it is terrible. It is something that I may have to work on and practice if I wish to do a proper audio in this particular accent. How was that? Was that okay? Did that sound okay to you? Any French speakers in the audience? Too many H sounds. That is true. Okay. Well, maybe I'll try. Maybe I'll try some French at some point. Maybe I'll try some French accented audios. Not today. Today, my dears, I'm going to be British, I think. Rather posh, I should say. I think I need to be refined, dignified. Maybe I'm some sort of... yes. Yes, alright. Okay. Away I go. Alright. Let's see what we have here. Oh. You, my lovely, have some work to do. Alright? Because, to be perfectly honest, if I can't get you functional within the next month, the Crown might lose faith in me, so if you would perhaps be willing to actually function today, that would be lovely. Let's see. Let's take a look at my previous diagrams. Shitting hell, this old notebook. Need a new one before long. Right, so what went wrong? You started for a few moments. You were actually conscious. And then something caught. And then something snapped. It's really just... Dusty old thing. Haven't had to double check the diagrams in a bit. Let's measure this. I think I see where it might have gone wrong. Yes, all right. Unbelievable. Beginner's mistake. All right, my lovely little doll. You, apparently, are imperfect entirely through my error. Apparently, I made a single error in measurement, and I'm paying for it now. I knew it. I knew it. I knew my plan was perfect. It's just the execution. What do they expect? I design things. I plan them. I never went to university to use my hands. I studied and I learned to make blueprints and plans so other people could... But no, of course, Her Highness would never assign a team to work under me. That would be... Well, I have to prove myself first, don't I? Well, prove myself I shall. If I just file this... If it really is just a gear catching. If I file this down, it should have enough clearance to prevent that from happening again. All right. Have it finished within the month. I don't care if it's complicated, just get it done. As though crafting the world's first thinking machine is simple. Ridiculous. Ah, well. What does it matter? I can do it, so I shall, and then I will have the respect I am owed. Bloody sawdust everywhere. Awful for my sinuses. This is why I should have workers. My constitution simply isn't meant for this type of labour. Oh well. This is still quite the opportunity. As soon as I've proven myself, it's all uphill from here. Here we go. Nightbot. Nightbot, no. No, Nightbot. Excess symbols is perfectly fucking fine, Nightbot. There we are. I apologise. I have scolded Nightbot appropriately. If you would like to blush again, it should go through this time just fine. Nightbot is an evil clockwork girl. There we are. Nightbot said, that's excessive symbols. You can't use too many symbols in a message. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. The hell, Nightbot? No, it's fine. All right. Now, if that's all filed down properly, my little creation, would you please function, all right? just need to insert a new cog right here. Replace that old one that snapped the shaft it was on when it got caught. Already replaced the drive shaft earlier, so that's fine. There we are. You're going to be amazing, you know that? Your mere existence, once all is said and done, it's going to revolutionize things. You're going to change my life. Just as soon as I can bring you to life. Right. Now, I've disconnected the mainspring. Because I don't want to risk anything snapping again. Instead, once I have these new replacement parts properly installed, I'll just try and operate you via crank. We'll see if you run, if everything's smooth, and if so, I'll reconnect the mainspring, wind you up, and let you go. Right. Let's just take the winding key out. Insert this manual crank. And please work. Hello there. Can you hear me? Hello. I'm keeping you operating manually for the moment. I'd like you to answer a few questions for me, all right? First and foremost, what is your name? That's right. And who is your creator? That is correct. Next question. Can you try standing up? I'll stick with you, keep you functional. If you would please stand up for me. There we are. I understand you're at rather low power, with your mainspring disconnected. I'm afraid my manual input isn't quite comparable, but I had to make sure this would be safe, that you wouldn't break down again. Do you still remember that first activation? You operated for about 5 minutes before, well, that. Do you still remember? All right. You seem to be functional for now. Memory seems intact. So, that's good. It's very good. I'm going to stop cranking now. Alright? You're going to fall asleep for just a little while. I'll reconnect your mainspring and wind you up, alright? You ready? It's alright. It's just for a moment. It's just for a moment, lovely. Alright. There we are. Perfect. You're awake now. Hello there. Welcome to the world. There you have it. That was fun. I like mechanical sounds. I'm gonna be honest, one of my personal favorite subgenres of ASMR is robotic sounds and the like, and like robot repair audios. It makes me very happy. It's actually did remind me of a story I read a while back on Scribble Hub, my favorite website for transgender fiction. I'll have you know. So, the question I have for you all today is, would you like another poll with another audio concept, or would you like me to spend the last 40 minutes of this stream talking about this one particular story that I read while doing random ASMR triggers? Maybe some rubber glove flappies around the mic. Let's see. Yaps, ramble. When you say story, do you mean you want me to tell you about the story? Alright, everyone wants the yap. Sounds good to me. Give me just a moment to put on my gloves so we can do some latex glove finger flutters around the mic. One thing to note for any patrons who are currently in the stream, I'm probably going to be releasing the next early access. I've just put on gloves. I can't pick up Rav when I'm wearing gloves. I'll take them off real quick. And I'll go grab the boy. But before I do, one thing to note for any of my patrons currently watching stream, the early access for the next audio is going to be releasing tomorrow instead of today. There are some silly scheduling issues that are going on lately just because Lynn is in prep for Shark Week this next week, which is going to be really crazy busy for everyone involved. So this next week is going to be a little funky. I will note, on Tuesday, I'll be participating in one of Lynn's Shark Week streams, in fact. It should be super fun. I'm gonna go grab Rav real quick and give him a smooch for you all. Where is my son? Hey, bud. Oh my goodness. Ravioli was taking a nap in his bed. So I have picked up the whole bed and carried it into the room. And given him a few smooches. Good lad, Rav. Okay. Yeah, Shark Week is a week of the year where there's a bunch of shark documentaries and stuff. And Lynn loves sharks and loves fishes, so during Shark Week, they do a whole thing where it's a week of streams that are themed around sharks, the ocean, and fishing games. And on Tuesday, I will be participating in one of those streams. We're going to be playing Sea of Thieves together. It should be pretty fun. All right. So, let's talk about this particular story. I'm gonna look it up so I can get the full title of it because it's a very long title. Okay? Little typey. Let's see. There we go. So this story was released on Royal Road, on Wattpad, and on Scribble Hub. I read it on Scribble Hub. and it is titled A Probability Experiment Turned Me into a Clockwork Girl, and I really don't know what to make of it all. That's the full title of the story. Alright? It's quite a fun one. It's quite a fun one. Now, it's an interesting piece of gendery fiction, right? This was back when I was voraciously reading gender-bent fics, and it's also around the time when I found out I had Ehlers-Danlos, when I found out that I was disabled, permanently so, and that it was only going to get worse from there. That my condition would only deteriorate over time, right? And this story has a very special place in my heart because of that. Alright? Because most of the gender-bent fics that I read at the time, and that I have read, and that I do read, focus very strongly on the gender side of it, right? This story, less so. Our main character is someone who, frankly, does not particularly care about gender, who holds no strong attachment to gender, and who, in truth, just becomes angry at people who try to force things onto them because of gender, right? They didn't like being expected to be a boy and do boy things when they were a boy. And she didn't like being expected to do girl things and be girl just because her body changed. Had a strong dislike for any of that. And that's not really the focus of the story, alright? The whole premise of it is that there is this weird sort of magic probability science that can alter reality in a bunch of ways. And experiments involving that are meant to be done safely. Our main character is a college student whose university recently got one of those probability devices for the science labs. And our main character and their friends, a pair of friends, decided they wanted to perform a probability experiment. They wanted to use the device without permission. They did not follow all of the safety protocols perfectly, and they were all exposed to it. And so, they were all transformed. One of them, a character who was paralyzed from the waist down, was no longer paralyzed from the waist down after this happened, but specifically became a mermaid. She turned into a mermaid, and so she was still functionally wheelchair-bound anytime she was out of the water. The probability experiment did not cure her disability, it changed it. She needed to get her wheelchair modified to accommodate her new body in order to continue existing on land around her friends and her family. One of them, a healthy, able-bodied cisgender girl, turned into a Dullahan. That is, her head separated from her torso, and the stump of her neck constantly emitted a sword of flame that to her feels awkward and itchy and uncomfortable whenever someone or something touches it. And our main character, fascinating that Automod doesn't allow the word pervert, but does allow the word self-cessed. Fascinating, genuinely. And the last of our main cast turned into a clockwork girl. Someone who is mechanical and who depends on a winding key. She cannot wind herself, and she does need to be wound up on occasion. As she starts to wind down, she becomes sluggish and weak and slow to react, and eventually she essentially starts to aggressively dissociate, and time slips by in a blur until someone winds her. And this is where the story gets really interesting to me, because it does talk about the gender side of things a good amount. But at its core, more than anything else, it's a story about disability. Right? The character who was disabled at the start, who was paralyzed from the waist down, did not get her disability cured, per se. Sure, she's no longer paralyzed, and when she's in the water, she is incredibly mobile and capable, but none of her friends or family are mer people as well. If she wants to stay around them and be with them, she has to continue to exist on land, so she still has a wheelchair. And she's gotten it modified to accommodate how she looks now. The Dullahan, able-bodied cisgender woman, who now has a head that is separate from her body, who has this flame at the top of her neck that feels very uncomfortable when it's touched. So she can't stand the sensation of the action of pulling a shirt on over her head. She can only wear button-ups now because it just doesn't feel comfortable to her. And the fact is, with her head now detached from her body, one of her arms is usually occupied at all times, holding her head. There are tons of different ways that her situation has changed, and she has to adapt how she lives. And things that were easy for her before are now much more difficult. What's the mermaid's lung/gill situation? She can breathe on air and in the water just fine. Would a neck brace help? That's actually one thing they did consider, was the possibility of putting the head back on the neck. But again, it feels deeply uncomfortable for her to have anything touching that flame coming out of her neck stump. And so they were unable to make it happen. It just felt way too uncomfortable and slightly painful for her. And that's the point, Cheesiest Boy, is again, this is a story about disability, coming to terms with disability, accepting it, changing, you know? And then we come to our last main character of the story. The very main character, the aforementioned clockwork girl, who not only has to come to terms with the changes to her appearance and apparent gender and how people treat her. But she also now has to come to terms with her disability, which is a lot more difficult in other ways than a lot of those other characters. Because in her case, the biggest limiting factor is her winding key, right? She needs to be wound up periodically. A couple times a day, she needs someone to wind her up. If it doesn't happen, she will become progressively more sluggish and slow to react and weak until eventually she loses the ability to move and not long after enters a dissociative haze. And that's where it gets really interesting with her relationship with the other two. One has been disabled her whole life. One is newly disabled. Both of them are fairly self-sufficient. But our main girl now has a disability that forces her to be dependent on other people. To be dependent on them for the rest of her life. She can't mind herself. She needs someone else to do it. Even if it's inconvenient for them. She needs it. See, you said that about the funny kink thing, Squishy Siren. But that's a huge part of the story. There's a scene about halfway through where she's out on a trip with some friends, one of whom is the Dullahan. And they stop and she realizes that she's winding down. And she says, "Hey, can you wind me real quick?" But her friend is like, "I'll do it in a second. I have to go to the bathroom real quick. I'll be back in just a bit." And she didn't realize how close she was to winding down before. But now that she's realized it, she's starting to wind down fast, and she's scared, and the stress makes her tick faster. And she fully winds down in public. And she becomes frozen and helpless and trapped in her own body in a public place where she does not feel safe, and she has this awful panic attack. Until finally her friend comes out of the bathroom and winds her up, and she blows up at her, quite justifiably. And so it becomes a story about being newly disabled and accepting your disability and needing to build a support network and to accept that you need one. To accept that you need other people to help you, and then finding the people who are willing to actually go to the effort that it takes to do that. Which, for me, as a disabled trans girl, as someone who was technically disabled my whole life, but only found out about the exact nature of my disability and the fact that it's chronic and degenerative. I only found out about that not long before I read that story, right? And it hit. It really resonated, you know? The story in the end had two endings. one of which, the original, fell flat quite badly. I did not much appreciate it. But the author, as a patient and understanding person, took the criticism that everyone had and wrote an entire new ending that was more in theme and in line with the story up until that point. Which I really respect, honestly. I don't know if they wrote these themes with intention, but a lot of disabled people really clearly resonated with it, myself included, and when we all said, we don't like the way this ended, it was, okay, I'll rewrite it. You're right. And the old ending is still there. It's not been deleted. But the new ending is also there, and I think much, much better. I'm not going to say what those endings are. I mean, it's ultimately your choice. I read both, obviously. I'm not gonna say whether you can or cannot read the original ending. The big thing was that in the original ending, a second probability event happened and she turned into just normal girl without the winding key, which I didn't like. And so a second ending was written, wherein she keeps the winding key and mends her relationship with her mother, because she had a bad relationship there, and is accepted and cared for, and that's much better to me. So it's something I think I've talked about before. I don't like when a story cures a disability, to me. Because I think when a story does that, it's you have a character that has the potential to be relatable to disabled people, that it's not like, well, actually magic cured it because XYZ. It gets frustrating. So I always appreciate when an author takes the note and makes the change. Exactly. And so I appreciate that the author of Clockwork Girl made that change. And I will also appreciate that the author of the Graceling books also took that note, right? I think I've talked about this before, maybe, but the Graceling books by Kristen Cashore were a particular favorite of mine back in high school, and they're still a book series that I'm quite fond of. I used to read a bunch of YA romance novels in high school. It was like my main thing. And I still read a couple of them every now and then. But the Graceling books have a lot going on. But one of the big things is that in the world of Graceling, there are two halves of the world, and both halves have their own unique form of magical beings. Different stories take place on different sides of the world. On one side, we have monsters. Monsters are members of a species that are unnaturally beautiful and possess pigmentation that is unnatural and unusual. And monsters universally have the ability to look into the minds of others and manipulate them. So that's one side of the world. And it's a good time. The other thing that monsters pretty much universally have is a hunger for human flesh. So, you'll have a house cat monster. That's one. and someone will have a house cat monster as a pet, and that house cat will constantly be trying to implant the thought into people's heads of like, you should let the kitty bite your hand. You should let the kitty bite and maul you. You should let the kitty do that. But the cat is a really not very smart animal and is very small and does not think things through. And so it's usually pretty easy for most people to say, no, kitty, I won't let you eat my hand. It's the same with birds in the setting. There's a mountain lion monster at one point. That one's actually quite scary. The main character of Fire, which is the second book in the Graceling series, is the last surviving human monster. And she absolutely hates what she is. She has a lot of self-loathing. It's bad. She's going through it. Yeah, it's an interesting side of things. The other side is where the series gets its title from. The first book in the series, Graceling, is titled for the Gracelings that exist on the half of the world it is. And in the world of Graceling, if you are a Graceling, you will have heterochromatic eyes, and you will have a natural skill that you are better at than basically anyone else. And that skill could be climbing trees. You could be supernaturally gifted at climbing trees. You could be a supernaturally gifted seamster or cook. You could also be a supernaturally gifted fighter. My grace is archery. I am incredible at archery. And there are some spoilers about certain characters' graces that I won't get into in case anyone wants to read the series themselves. But our main character is someone who has the grace of killing. Not fighting, killing, specifically. She can kill people really good. And the king of her kingdom forced her to be his assassin for many years because of that. But an interesting thing happens with one character whose grace is a weird form of enhanced perception. It's complicated. I can't remember the specific. Yeah, I mean, some graces are more broad than others. Some are more straightforward. There's one person whose grace is holding their breath underwater. And then there are people whose graces are all forms of combat. But there's one character whose grace is, at first we think it's mind reading, but it turns out to be a special form of perception that just lets him read people very well. And be incredibly aware of his surroundings. And partway through the book, he is blinded. Partway through the book, he is injured, and he loses the use of his eyes. Okay? Alright. Cool. We have a blind character. And then, by the end of the book, he has learned how to use his grace to perceive the world around him in perfect clarity, which is how we find out that it's more than just mind reading. He can now use his grace to perceive his surroundings with near perfect clarity, where, and it doesn't have to be in front of him. It's just full 360 degrees. He can perceive everything. Okay? Like Daredevil or Toph, yes. But the thing is, there were some people who read Graceling who were blind or otherwise disabled who became frustrated at this happening. They enjoyed this character as a blind man. They liked the idea of the primary romantic interest of the book being a blind man, being disabled. And the book basically undid that, right? But they weren't quiet about it. You know, the I don't like this was something they were open and talked about in reviews of the book, right? And Kristen Cashore, she read the reviews. She heard the note. She took the note. And in the next book where Poe appeared, the next book where this character showed up, she established. She actually wrote an author note in that book that was like, people read my first book and they explained that they weren't super fond of the way Poe was handled, and I understand. I get that they would want better representation and to be able to see themselves in this character. And so I've taken the time not to retcon what's already been done or to change what's already been done, but to acknowledge that and to establish limitations to what this character can do with his extrasensory perception. And so she established that when there's too much going on, he gets overwhelmed. He can't see anything because there's too much of everything, and he gets a headache, and it's too and so like on rainy days, he's no good in rain or in a big crowd. It's too much information for him to process. So he can't. And so then suddenly we do have a character who's disabled again. We have a character who has an aid for his disability in the form of his grace, but that doesn't cure it. He's still disabled. And so it's an interesting thing that happened with both the Graceling books and with Clockwork Girl, where an author made a decision regarding a disabled character. Real disabled people, like myself, spoke out and said, I don't like the way this was handled. I think you could have done it better. And the author took that criticism and said, you're right. I could have done it better. I should have, and so I will now. I think that's really neat. And so, with that, I believe that's about the end of the Flawless Fae ASMR Yap session. Thank you for letting me talk about my transgender robot girl. Oh, Lemuel in Arknights is sick as hell. I fucking love her. I love her so much. She is wheelchair bound. She simply is. I try to think, if we want this wheelchair bound character to be a combat operator, how do we do that? Give her a sniper rifle. Doesn't matter if you're in a wheelchair, if you're a mile away from your target. They were damn right about that. And also, honestly, she does some like sick drifts. She's pretty fucking awesome with that. She's kind of built different. So there you have it. We had one really fun ASMR roleplay prompt. We had some fun yapping. We had some good triggers today. This was a lovely stream, I think. And so with that, we're gonna find someone to go ahead and raid out to. We're gonna find someone to raid out to. Do you like raiding? I hope you like raiding, cause we're about to raid. Let's see who to say hello to today, though. That is the question. That is the question. Does anyone have any ideas on who they'd like to visit today, or shall I simply pick someone? Ideally, I'd like someone who's nice and chill today, since we had some chill vibes for today's stream, you know? Let's see what we have. Let's see what we have. Let's see. Factorio. Alright. Why not? Why not raid out to some Factorio? There we go. There we go. All aboard the raid train, my lovelies. All aboard. Are you ready? Because we're about to head out in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1.